The time is just gone 9:20 a.m. and with all this talk about a new variant of COVID-19 and many questions are being raised, there is a lot of debate taking place at this point in time as to the nature of this new variant. How deadly is this new variant? And we know that there are mixed messages, there are mixed signals coming through, to the extent that yesterday somebody posted an article on one of the groups talking about the World Health Organization, saying that this new variant that was discovered in the United Kingdom, it may not be as deadly as people make it out to be, but at the end of the day, it has triggered off a reaction, and we've seen that reaction here in South Africa. We've seen foreign countries preventing their people from coming to South Africa, and we've seen countries like Turkey, Germany, the United Kingdom as well. And at the same time, when we are looking at this new variant, there is also all the talk that is taking place with regard to the vaccine rollout that is taking place. And we have been talking about this race to the finishing line for the vaccine. We've heard about wealthier nations hoarding vaccines, and the key question here is, when will poorer countries, when will countries even like South Africa ever get to the stage where we will be getting this vaccine? And whether we believe in the vaccine or we don't believe in the vaccine, at the end of the day, it is something that is going to happen. It is real. And we joined on the line this morning by Mohamed Hoosen Suleman, who is a second-year medical student at the Nelson Mandela School of Medicine and currently involved in academic research. Mohamed, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Wa alaikum salam. Jazakallah for the invite. I hope you and the listeners are well and safe in these trying times.
Well, yes, definitely. And we hope that all of us obviously will be safe, inshallah, Mohammed. But Mohammed, let's talk about this new variant, because we've heard about scientists discovering this new variant. And the key question is, how did scientists actually find this new variant in COVID-19?
The new variant, or the mutation, simply speaks to the genomic sequence in the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So the disease that actually causes COVID-19. The variant has been termed SARS-CoV-2 501.V2 variant. So it simply means a slight change in the amino acid sequence of the existing COVID-19 strain. So a lot of people think that we are dealing with a new virus or with something that's completely different. Remember that the virus and the strain are still the same. It's just that the polypeptide or the protein sequence in that strain has been altered. It's a natural phenomenon. And microorganisms actually possess the, it's the inherent ability of these organisms to alter their structure over time. It's just the nature of how they work. So if it's bacteria, fungi, parasites, or even viruses. And I think that what's concerning and a critical factor to note is that this mutation has actually made the virus more transmissible. It's actually driving up to 90% of infection in the second wave. It seems to be infecting more of the younger population, so the youth between the age group of 15 to 19 years. And a team of scientists that were led by Professor Tulio de Oliveira here in KwaZulu-Natal had actually sequenced a few hundred samples since the start of the pandemic. And the samples were taken across 50 healthcare facilities in South Africa. It was a dominant finding that in these samples, it was the 501.V2 variant that was found. And what's interesting is that in the receptor binding domain in the RBD, 3 differences were actually seen. So the new variant has a higher binding affinity for the human cell. It has a higher affinity for the ACE type 2 receptor. Remember, the S spike protein of the virus binds to this to the ACE type 2 receptor on the host cell. So if there's a higher affinity, the virus is likely to bind more easily to this receptor. And it's quite a concern because it poses a challenge for the patient to actually
Yes. Mohammed, can I
develop
just stop
immunity.
you? Yeah, can I just stop you there? And obviously, I know you being an academic and involved in academic research, and this can get very, very technical. But just looking at it from a people or from patients who are COVID-19 positive, and we know we've heard about the symptoms that COVID-19 positive people obviously have shown. Will this new variant show different systems?
No, the clinical manifestation in all likelihood will still be the same. Patients will still experience the same symptoms, that being fever, um, coughing or sneezing, um, tiredness, sore throat, loss of taste and smell. So the signs and symptoms or the presentation of the patient will still be the same.
Okay, now let's just talk about prevention and treatment to the new variant. And when we look at the original COVID-19 strand, will prevention and treatment to this new variant be different?
No, prevention and treatment strategies will still be the same. We are still dealing with the same virus, and so the tools that we currently have, it won't change. Prevention strategies still include mask wearing in public spaces to keep social distancing of approximately 2 meters, and to regularly sanitize or to wash your hands with soap and water. So they're all the same, and we have been using these tools, and so we need to continue to use them insofar as infection prevention and control are concerned.
Right. Now, let's talk about vaccines because we're now being obviously overwhelmed with news about vaccines, with about vaccine rollouts in many parts around the world. And we've seen some of the wealthier nations obviously already starting to roll out vaccines. And just to look at vaccines, where we are as far as vaccines are concerned, and how do these vaccines actually work, Mohammed?
You know, finally, there is light at the end of the tunnel. It's literally a medical breakthrough, a scientific miracle that a vaccine is produced in the space of 10 months. The first vaccine to have ever been created was the mumps vaccine, which took about 4 years. It was in the 1960s. Vaccines usually take between 10 to 15 years to be developed. Now, there are multiple candidate COVID-19 vaccines, approximately about 70 of them. Perhaps I should speak about the three leading vaccines, those that have been approved for emergency use authorization. It's the Moderna, the Pfizer BioNTech, and the AstraZeneca vaccine produced by the University of Oxford. The Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines have shown to be about 95% effective against COVID-19. The AstraZeneca vaccine has shown an effectiveness of approximately 70%. These vaccines have been used on tens of thousands of samples. So the first two, which is the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines, use messenger RNA biotechnology to actually stimulate this immune response in the body. It's quite innovative in that the mRNA biotechnology, it's quite new to science. The AstraZeneca vaccine, on the other hand, and it's most likely the one that we'll see here in the country. This works in a different manner. It contains a double-stranded DNA, and it's based on the adenovirus from the chimpanzee. Once the vaccine is injected into your deltoid muscle in the upper arm, it will go to the human cell. It will instruct the cell to produce spike proteins, which resembles that of the virus. So the body will now respond to this by stimulating B cells and T cells to generate it's to generate that it's the antibody response. And in this manner, the SARS-CoV-2 virus will not be able to grow and replicate. It's quite a complex process, but essentially that's how this immune response will be stimulated.
Yes. Now, in terms of people who are against vaccination, what do we tell people?
I find that many people think that the vaccine will do more harm than good. It's far from the truth. Vaccines and other therapeutic agents have to pass clinical trials to be approved for use. Preclinical trials and the 4 stages of clinical trials test vaccines for their safety, efficacy, and quality. These are the 3 fundamental principles that vaccines have to comply with. If the vaccines pass these stages, then only are they deemed safe and effective. And for decades, the scientific and the medical fraternity have actually relied on vaccines. They've saved millions of lives. Yes, admittedly, there are side effects, but the pros far outweigh the cons. The positive far outweighs the negative. People will be exposed to a lot of fake news and misinformation and conspiracy theories that will deter them from actually taking a safe vaccine. I think we have to remind such people to always take information from the official sources, such as the World Health Organization, the Department of Health, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Yes. No, Mohammed, I understand what you're saying, but obviously, what has happened, obviously, is we know that there are many, many theories that are going around the entire world. And I've got a message that's come through from Ahmed Musa who says, ivermectin is being sent out on WhatsApp chats as a tablet to prevent COVID. How true is this? Now, there are, obviously other medical professionals in the world that hold different views to that of the World Health Organization. And this is where I think the debate comes in, is the narrative that the World Health Organization is giving to the world. It's not being questioned, number one. And the same thing we would go for governments, for health, for government health departments as well. But at the end of the day, this debate obviously is going to go on, because you are going to get the pro-vaccine fraternity, you're going to get the anti-vaccine fraternity. But it's basically taking the entire scenario into account. And at the end of the day, just to see exactly what makes sense, what makes logical sense at the end of it all.
Yes, that's true. In fact, if you look at the ivermectin drug, so it has been used, and it's currently being used in quite a few states, countries, but it hasn't been approved officially by the FDA or by the World Health Organization for use in COVID-19. So the drug is actually, it's an antiparasitic agent. It's used for parasite infections. And there are a few trials that are still, it's still ongoing. But I must remind you that the data, it's quite preliminary. It's in the early stages, and we have to further conduct trials and tests on its use insofar as the coronavirus.
Well, Mohammed, Jazakallah for that and for your time with us this morning on Salam Media. We wish you all the best, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam.
Mohamed Hoosen Suleman joining us this morning on Salam Media, talking about the new strain and also talking about vaccines and the vaccine rollout. And this debate obviously is still going to continue because, as I mentioned, you've got the pro and you've got the anti-vaccine as well. And at the end of the day, the key issue here is we are people of intellect. And we need to obviously look at these things. We need to analyze. We need to question as well. And this was one of an issue that obviously came out last week when we had the function at Salam Media, and we had a seasoned journalist in Ibrahim Tembisa Fakudi, and he made a very, very telling point that obviously we are getting all these narratives that are coming through, whether it's the president of the country, whether it's the health department, whether it's the World Health Organization. Are we trained? Are we trained to question what they are telling, or are we just buying into the narrative and we're going with the flow? Good question to ask. But we're going to go for a break. We come back. We're looking globalization and the Muslim world will be joined by Mazhar Khan out of the United Kingdom.